If you want to learn how to build great web APIs, then stay tuned. You want to develop too? So in the second part of our web API series, we're going to create a small project, which is small but still nice. But wait, before we can start, we actually need the PHP executable files or PHP more or less installed on our system to let PHP run our PHP scripts. Wow, that was a lot of PHP in a few sentences, but okay. In my case, I'm using winnmp. It's something like XAMPP or XAMPP, which is pretty much more known, but personally I'm using winnmp. It's smaller, it's lightweight, and I mean the main things which make winnmp, you can read over here, means it's lightweight, fast, stable, blah blah. But the main thing why we are downloading it is because we want to develop with PHP, and we need more soon or later. I think we will need MySQL. So go ahead and download by scrolling a bit to the downside, and then here you can find download and execute the latest installer. After you've installed it, you can find it on your Windows system. I mean, I think it's for Windows. Yeah, it's for Windows. So execute winnmp, but every other stack, if you're using like Mac OS or something like that, you just need PHP installed and yeah, be able to use it. So currently I killed everything here with the kill button because I don't need anything. PHP only says here one thing is running. This is because in my Visual Studio Code I have my local development server open. So if you're looking for an alternative on Windows, you can use, like I've mentioned, XAMPP, which is pretty well known. It's from Apache, I think, yeah. And yeah, you can use this. And if you're a Mac user, you should be able to pretty much easy use MAMP, which is the opposite thing of XAMPP, but for, yeah, macOS. So at first I would recommend you to add the PHP executable file to the path system variable. This is pretty easy. Just enter environment variable or something like that in the Windows search function. So I'm going to do this now for my German system, so please don't get confused. Basically, you just need to go to environment variables. There you see under system variables a thing called path, and you gotta edit this. For me it's this button here. So you have to add a new entry, and in this entry you gotta add the PHP executable. In this case it's without an .exe, but usually, yeah, this will be enough. So after that, make sure that you restart your terminal here, means closing it by this bin icon or this X. I think bin icon is enough, I think. So restart your terminal, and after that you should be able to execute PHP things. To jumpstart right away, visit slimframework.com, which is our main framework we are going to use to build our APIs in this series. Go to user guide, and there you will see the documentation for the current Slim version 4. In the next step, to get Slim in our actual hands, just go to user guide, installation, and then we can see that in the first step we would need to install Composer, which we have already done. So go into the next step, step 2, which means installing Slim, and Slim is installed over Composer. So just copy and paste this command into your new terminal, which you can open by terminal, new terminal. Copy and paste that command into there, and keep an eye on that you are actually in your right directory. So press enter. There is our composer JSON file, which is responsible for holding our dependencies. And in the next step, Composer created a vendor directory where every third-party library we are going to use is in. Now as we got our tools ready, you can create a normal index.php file which needs the starting tag, and now we can start writing PHP code. But to start with Slim, we have to import it. And this is done by using the autoload file, which is inside the vendor folder. And the autoload file is for autoloading everything we need to run our application. And in this case, we're using Slim, so it loads Slim itself and every subcomponent Slim uses. But before we continue, we are going to reorganize our project a little bit. Usually you have something like the public folder where all public files are stored, like the index.php file. So we're going to move that PHP file over there. Additionally, we then need to adjust our path, which points now or is inside the public folder. So we have to go one directory up, then inside the vendor folder, and then loading the autoload file. So in the next step, we are taking a closer look of how we can create a Slim application. The first 3 little steps we gotta do is importing different things, and those will be those guys over here. At first we are going to import the response interface, which is stored inside the PSR HTTP message namespace. If you don't understand that right now, this is no problem. We're going to address that in a little bit, but for now we're just importing something someone already defined and calling that response. The next thing is we are importing another thing called server request interface and call that request. The last thing we are importing is an app factory class which resides in the Slim factory namespace. But to actually go any further, I'm going to cancel the execution of my server by Ctrl+C 2 times for some terminals. And to start through, one thing is missing, and it's an implementation for a specific standard. It's pretty complicated, so I'm not going to go any farther right now into it because it will just confuse you. So we are going to install composer require slim /PSR 7. This is the implementation of this standard by Slim itself. There are different other implementations which you can find on the Slim homepage as well mentioned. So for example, Nyholm or Guzzle, etc. But for now, and me in general, I'm using Slim PSR 7. So let's install that, and then we are ready to go. Right now we can then actually create one of the instances of our Slim application, and this is done just by defining a new variable called, for example, app, and we are going to use the app factory which we have imported above here, and then we can use the create method, which is also mentioned in the documentation. This is a pretty normal factory method which provides some extra things on creating those objects. So we are calling that create function, and in the next step we have our app ready. But for now our app isn't doing very much, so we can add some handlers to it. And this is done by calling one of the, let me call it methods. Funny, but there are normal HTTP methods. Some of them are pretty much well known. For example, the get method, but some others aren't that known, at least to normal users, like put, post, patch, or options request. For now, we are going to add a get request. This is a normal request you are also sending when you visit google.com or something. You enter this in your browser, press enter, and this request goes to the web server of Google, and Google's web server will see, okay, it's a get request, so respond in this way. And something like this we're going to do now. So basically we are calling that get method. Now we have to specify a path where we will listen. More about that in a second. Then we are going to define a closure function, and this closure function will receive request as the first parameter, the response as second parameter, and arguments as the last parameter. So now our app listens on the path get, and this function will be called if this route, we call it routes, if this route is visited. So when this route is visited, I want to manipulate the body of the response. So I can, for example, write data into the response body, which I'm going to do now, like hello world, which is a basic example you can also find on the Slim homepage. And to actually make these complete thing work, or this complete thing, is by returning the response. The last thing we gotta do is actually run our app, or otherwise it won't get started. So I need to restart our little local PHP server. And when I show you my localhost, you will see some things. And for example, he couldn't open the index file. And this is because I just failed to adjust the path. And this is obviously public index PHP. So if I run this again, open it again, we will see our little response. As I mentioned, the basic path which is requested is this, which means /. So our app is seeing, okay, I'm getting a request under this path, so I'm going to respond with this. And this is the very first example we finished by using Slim. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this episode of building great web APIs, and I hope I will see you in the next one. See ya!